Welcome back to Channel 25 News. Today, we have a special episode about coral reefs.
Today, we'll have a special interview with someone from the Science Center, and we'll have a summary at the end. Stay tuned to find out. Hello, and welcome back to Channel 25 News. Today, we have a special guest from the Science Center. Jenna, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm great. So, we have a couple questions about regarding coral.
Sure.
So, let's start it off. How do rising waters and rising temperatures affect coral?
Well, coral reefs are very delicate systems. They're you really rely on a lot of factors to make sure that they work. So if you have, first of all, increasing temperatures, corals need a certain temperature to be able to live. If you get increasing temperatures, a lot of things happen. Sometimes corals will just give up, and that's when you get coral bleaching. So they'll get rid of everything that keeps them alive, and then they die. So that rising temperatures are really bad. Rising waters, they can accommodate a little bit, like with the changes in water, because they're already living in the water, so they can pretty much accommodate changes in the rising water levels. But you don't want to get to have too high water levels, because then you start to run out of light that can get down to corals, and they need light to survive as well.
So we're back on Channel 25 News. So we just have a couple more questions here. So what can the government do to protect these reefs, such as overfishing?
It's tricky because reefs don't tend to abide by countries' boundaries, so we really have to work together to make it work. A lot of the times as well, it's really important to engage and get the public involved, because I've been out on the reefs before when I've been on a boat, on a tourist boat, and we've seen people illegally fishing, and they've said, well, we're not, no point in telling the government because it'll take too long to get out here. By the time they're here, they're gone. So you have to be really careful with this sort of stuff, and you also have to be really engaged and really actively trying to stop that sort of thing. Overfishing is really bad for the reefs, and also tearing down mangroves and shoreline as well to build condos and stuff like that, also really bad. So you want to keep the shoreline as intact as you can.
How do humans affect coral reefs in other ways?
Another way that we impact reefs is that we occasionally introduce species, new fish or new plants to an environment, and then those plants will do really, really well, and they won't have any predators, so other animals won't try to eat them. We call those invasive species. So they have invaded into an environment, and they now do really well. One example of that in the Atlantic Ocean is the lionfish. Lionfish are big poisonous fish with these big long spines, and they were very popular aquarium fish, and they usually live in the Pacific Ocean. So they were introduced to the Atlantic, and they've done really well. Nothing eats them, and they have sort of taken over the reef and left no space for other fish.
All right.
We have behind us here, this tank is, it's sort of a reef system, so it's got a whole bunch of different species in it. We've got a bunch of fish. You can see a clownfish down there, one of the very popular ones, and a couple little triggerfish. And we also have some anemones and soft corals. So these are things like these guys here, and those little anemones down there. These ones here are soft corals as well. So these are not quite like the reefs that you see out in let's say down in the Caribbean. These don't build those big structures that reefs often do. These ones are soft, so they just live, you can see the polyps on there, they just live in these little soft colonies here without building a reef system. They tend to grow on rocks instead. We've also got the plants, so we have algae all along here, and then we have some shrimp as well, which are over there. You can see our shrimp. Those guys keep it clean, they clean up the tank, and finally we have this guy down here, which is one of my favorites. This is a sea cucumber. And these guys will filter, see those red things sticking out? They're filtering through the water and cleaning up the water as well. So everything's in a very delicate balance, and it all sort of works together. This tank is meant to simulate a real environment, a real reef system, and so we have this cool system here where we get water pouring in, and the water will eventually tip out and splash into the tank, and it acts sort of like waves. So it adds oxygen to the water, and it helps to mix things up a little bit, get things moving. It's a little bit better than just having oxygen bubbling in. It simulates the actual waves that they would experience in the real world.
Welcome back to Channel 25 News. So we have a couple more questions. What do you think is the most interesting fact about coral reefs?
So coral reefs, even though they are a very delicate ecosystem, they've found coral reefs in these really strange places that are actually doing really well. So they found a couple years ago, they found a coral reef off the coast of the Amazon River, which is weird because coral reefs are normally, when you see them, you see it's like lots of sunshine, lots of salt water, makes a lot of sense to have these guys around that sort of environment. And at the edge of the Amazon River, there's a whole bunch of fresh water, and it's really dirty. And so nobody was expecting a reef to be there. But then they dredged along the shore, and they found some reef down there, which is really cool.
All right. And how can we help the coral reefs?
A lot of what we can do is to raise awareness and to prevent garbage getting into the system. Garbage tends to really mess things up. So try not to use as much single-use plastics, things like that, garbage bags, stuff like that. Try to reduce your use of those, and definitely try to get governments engaged in saving the reefs, especially in areas where they really need help.
All right. So that is all from us. We'll send it back to the studio with Philip.
Coral reefs are an extremely diverse ecosystem. They are an ancient structure made by coral animals and other organisms that create exoskeletons and shells out of calcium carbonate. Shallow living coral reefs are thought to only cover 0.2 of the ocean surface. And in that surface, over 60,000 species of coral live. Of all the aquatic systems, coral reefs are regarded to be the most diverse of life per unit of area.
Effects and problems with coral reefs. Due to overfishing in non-protected areas with coral reefs, coral is dying due to the fact that they need the fish to help them survive. The lack of education, legal and economic motivation to save the coral reefs is one of the problems of the death of coral reefs. Mining, agriculture, urban runoff, and sewage can also cause damage to coral reefs. Without coral reefs, land is getting eroded. Cities are losing houses, roads, and hotels. Coral reefs are very sensitive to change in their environment and have been affected by mass extinction because of climate change. Urban development on the coast destroys the natural filtration system of coral reefs. Poorly regulated tourist activities, aquariums, fish and coral trade, and boat anchoring in coral reefs can cause a lot of damage to coral reefs.
Coral dying from oil spills. Researchers were relieved to think that the Deepwater Horizon oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico wouldn't come with any long-term effects. However, scientists soon discovered that 90% of 40 large coral reefs were covered in a brown substance and were considered dead or dying. Some of the effects of the oil spill had on the distressed coral were tissue loss, excel mucus production, and under the layer of covered oil left behind, bleach killed coral. The Great Barrier Reef. The Great Barrier Reef is located on the northeastern coast of Australia. The Great Barrier Reef is the largest structure made by a living organism, including humans. Animal life is everywhere in the Great Barrier Reef. Some animals, including crabs, worms, fish, algae, and many more. However, rising water temperatures have caused the greatest loss of coral recorded to date. A solution to the problem. A large part of the problem is overfishing. Fishermen have no respect for the betterment of the coral reefs and are destroying the entire ecosystem of the coral reefs. People have to be educated about the coral reefs that are dying. However, the biggest problem that is causing the most damage is climate change. Climate change is wiping out coral fast and is killing coral in record time. If we are going to save coral and the environment, we have to change and stop global warming. We could put regulations on how many tourists dive and spearfish. We could also ban anchoring boats in live coral reefs. The government of countries who border coral reefs should put limitations on urban development on the coast of coral reefs. The governments could also put limitations on fish and coral trade for aquarium use. We could try to reduce mining, agriculture, urban runoff, and sewage that affects a lot of coral reefs. What do coral reefs do for humans? More than 500 million people depend on coral reefs for food, money, and medicines. Studies estimate that coral reefs make $375 billion annually from goods and services to the world. Researchers believe that coral reefs are a source of medicine. Some researchers think that coral reefs is a source of medicine to treat cancer and other bacterial infections. Coral reefs are estimated to make tens of billions of dollars from tourism. Coral reefs minimize ground erosion on coasts and also shelter cities from storm waves. Thank you for watching this episode of Channel 25 News.
Hope to see you in the next one.